Hi Pisces, how's everyone doing? If you're wondering why I'm in the same shirt as I was in the last reading, it's because I did both of the readings on the same day. I hope that everyone is having a wonderful evening or day or afternoon, wherever this finds you. My name is Gabriella, for anybody tuning in that is new. Before we get into this, let's set the intention for this to be a space where everyone allows themselves to feel seen and validated, and ultimately for this to be a safe space and a healing space in alignment with everyone's highest good. So it looks like there's a little bit of a challenge letting something go. You may be aware that you're holding on to something that you're meant to be releasing, but you just haven't gotten to that point where you're ready to actually let go. For some of you, in order to clear out energy, you may be using, I'm seeing crystals here. You may be like using certain means of doing this, like incense or Palo Santo or anything that helps you clear stuff out. Because it's mostly about like what resonates with you and what works for you. There's not really like a right way that you have to do it. It's just if it works for you. But yeah, sometimes if it's people too, it can be like putting things away that remind you of that person or anything that has like an energetic link to it. If that's something that like doesn't allow you to finish up with a process you need to finish up when you're clearing out energy. We're starting off with Judgment. This looks like a very big decision. The Judgment card in this deck, for some reason, it looks kind of disheveled to me. Do you see this guy up here? Like, it looks like the wind is kind of just like knocking his hair all around. Yeah, some big decision that needs to be made. Maybe it's also like you've gone through a lot to get to this point where you're ready to actually do this. And I'm also looking at the High Priestess here. Need to do this based off of your intuition. I'm hearing your intuitive truth, and I'm also hearing principle. You may not be explaining the details of why you're doing something to someone. You may just be going off of what you're feeling and allowing that, to win. Okay, so you definitely picked up on, I'm also looking at the Queen of Cups on the bottom of the deck. You definitely picked up on something intuitively. I'm seeing a really strong psychic energy here, even for you, Pisces. I mean, Pisces is very, very psychically gifted sign. Hearing Mercury. Somebody has their Mercury in Pisces. So you allowed your intuition to lead you in the right direction, even if you may not have had anything else to go off of. You trusted yourself here. And that's what this is about. And this is about like how you succeed through doing that, through trusting yourself, through trusting your intuition, even when you don't have like empirical data. Empirical is like what you can observe physically, materially. You may not have had anything like that to go off of to make this decision. This can even be like a gut instinct. It came down to you needing to make a decision, and rather than using anything else, you prioritized like basing this decision off intuitively. And you may even feel like you're making more decisions like that, like just using your intuition. and like really allowing that to lead you. And I think too, when we start tapping into that part of ourselves, it really does surpass logic in many ways. Like things that you couldn't possibly know, you end up knowing. Especially when it comes to like the impact. Like sometimes we make decisions and we couldn't possibly tell like where it could lead, but intuitively, like even though it may seem like a trivial decision, you're just feeling like really not into doing something, or you just feel like something's out of alignment and you're not sure exactly why, but it just feels like that. And you going off of that, it's like what ends up being revealed to you later on down the line, there's a sense of being so happy that you followed your intuition with something and like really listen to yourself here. Like I'm seeing something so specifically with the third eye, like this person has their eyes closed and they're just like listening to what's going on. This can be related to who you're around in close connections with. It can also be something related to the home too. For some of you, even travel with the Chariot here. Yeah, I'm seeing something, especially with the solar plexus energy, like the way that the Queen of Pentacles is like holding. You see where her hands are? Down here. This is like the solar plexus. This is where we will from, where we manifest from. Will meaning what we will to happen. That's like your power center when it comes to your decision making. Yeah, it looks like you decided to take a chance on something. This would be something new that you're exploring. Something that you may be less familiar with. I am looking at a tower here. I'm seeing a tower related to your intuition. Like, it's one of those moments where anyone observing would be like, you couldn't possibly have known that, but you knew. Unsurprisingly, Pisces. You could have even predicted that something big was going to happen. Like this can be some event or like some crucial point in time. I'm hearing crucial point. I'm seeing too, in order for you to have like really come out on top, have come out on top of this situation, you needed to use your intuition. Like I'm seeing that there wouldn't have been another way for you to successfully do this. And that's why it was so important for you. And like for some of you too, there's a sense of like this being somewhat new to you. Possibly for some of you. Or like even taking a chance and listening to yourself when people are telling you otherwise. This can even be going down a path that's very different, looks very different to what other people are doing with the Uranus energy here under Judgment. It's like people look at you and may think something, but there's a sense of like you really trusting yourself in your path that you're on and not allowing anyone else to be deterring you, because I'm seeing something that you could even be discovering, like certain gifts and abilities that you have related to the High Priestess that are quite profound and amazing, I'm hearing. And like if you didn't take this leap of faith, you wouldn't have ever been able to bring this up out of you. Like this may not have manifested if you hadn't taken a chance to do this. Because there can be things that are within us that are very latent, and until we enter into the right situation or take the right chance or we're in the right environment, those things may not come through. And it looks like something has blossomed and come through, and it feels very significant, whatever this is that's going on for you, Pisces. Like, you may even be surprised at how powerful you understand yourself to be. I keep hearing something about people in the environment. Like, people in the environment are somehow, like, shocked by something that you're doing. Like, I'm seeing this be very amazing, whatever it is that you're doing. Like, this is something that you're very gifted with. It seems, too, like you really followed your heart and chose the path to happiness, like, over anything else. This is, like, where you feel like you are discovering your sense of fulfillment, your pursuit of happiness, where your heart calls you. And especially, like, overcoming difficult circumstances, like, within your life, within the situations you've been in, constantly coming back to check in with yourself. There's even a possibility of something, like, taking you very, very far, something that you've been doing. And it seems like, as willing as you are to, like, overcome obstacles and challenges when you are faced with them, that is, like, how far you will go. The sense of self-trust feels like it's on another level with the Queen of Pentacles. This is, like, how I'm reading her energy. Yeah, even when being challenged, trusting yourself. Even when other people may not see your vision, trusting yourself. And knowing that not everybody needs to understand either. For some of you, you could have, like, had some sort of activation and kind of been thrown into a situation where, like, your third eye was open, like, maybe even earlier than you had thought, or, like, you hadn't been anticipating that even. But it was based off of, like, something karmically that you went through, and, like, your guides thought you were ready to be able to, like, understand something or see something. It could have also been, like, after a really big ending with someone. Like, this can be a breakup or, like, some sort of significant moment, like something where you decided to take a leap of faith or take a chance with something, or, like, be really out there and courageous with something that you were doing, and, like, making the decision to do that. It's like, as soon as whatever thing this was ended, and it was something that was, like, stifling you in some type of way, I'm seeing, like, your third eye just open, like, so huge, and there's a sense of, like, your whole world kind of shattering in a good way. It's like the fourth wall being knocked down, and, like, some sort of ascension that I'm seeing going through. Like, this is even that moment where someone may not have particularly believed in energy work, or you had never really seen proof of it, and then you do, and you're like, your whole world shifts. It's like you start believing in magic again because you've seen it for yourself, but it's not something you ever thought that you'd see in this lifetime. And it's like, people really do exist that can do these fantastic things, and then you recognize that you can also be one of these people that could do these fantastic and amazing things. And that everything that you had gone through was all part of your empowerment and you getting to the place where you are. This reminds me too, I was reading something recently, and it was about how, like, both fortunately and unfortunately, like, powers and gifts usually come from a place of, like, trauma or deprivation or something like that. Like, it's usually something really, really crazy that gets things brought out. And I think that can be different for each of us too, because, like, what we perceive as trauma can be subjective to each of us. And like some of us may not even label it as that, like these very difficult situations that we go through that like really change our world and change our perspectives. But yeah, it looks like you went through something so very difficult, and through this very like excruciating and painful experience where there was definitely like suffering and experiencing all of that, then you come through and there's a sense of like grace that's bestowed upon you after moving through this, and like understanding how connected everything is, and like your eyes being open to a world that you hadn't seen before, and that being like even a jarring experience with the tower here. And there's a sense of like recognizing self as something that maybe you had never identified with, that now you know yourself to be. Like I'm seeing a very, very powerful experience here that happens. And there's a sense of like understanding your true calling and understanding like what's going on inside, and being able to be on the same page as your higher self. And I'm looking at the Emperor and the Empress next to each other here. So first there's a sense of like understanding like who you are and what you're about and what that is that's going on inside of you. And then there's a sense of like, well, how am I going to step into the world? What am I going to bring into the world? Because I've discovered that I can do this. I've discovered that I want to pursue this. I discovered that this is part of my path. So now what can I do with that? Like you take your ideas and these things that are intrinsic and specific to you, and you bring them outward. They're definite challenges that you have to face, but you know that it's worth it to you because this is your pursuit of happiness, and you are fulfilling your karmic contract. This is your dharma. And it looks too like channeling your passions and happiness and these things that make you feel connected and at one, and all of these things that you desire, and grounding them down and allowing things to materialize from that space too. So it's not just having the ideas, it's doing things with those ideas. And I'm seeing this all be a very significant process as well. And it's something that kind of like unfolds upon itself. I'm hearing and then elongates. That's interesting. For some of you, like you may even be moving or considering moving. But this can also, like, that can be a metaphor for something, or it can be something like psychologically or mentally that's going on for you, or you have to wait to travel or go somewhere that you want to travel. But this can also mean like your career too. It's like you have like the groundwork and you're placing that right now, and you're trying to figure out like where you want to take things. Just saw 1818 on the time, long term, or like where this is going to go. And you know that like the path to progress is not linear, so there's a sense of needing to stick to this and like see how far the chariot is going to carry you here, and like how strong you can be as far as your willpower and your endurance, because the strength card is about very much about endurance, especially in relation to like the challenges that you're facing, finding creative solutions and going from there. And how patient you are too. Knowing that your limitations begin where your imagination ends. And so, as imaginative as you can be is as limitless as you can be. There may be something that you're working on bringing outward. Like this can even be you trying to balance something that's going on like publicly or around other people versus like you taking care of yourself and what's going on like in your quiet time, or like when you're home, when you're not around other people, and how to balance these two things. This can even be about, I'm kind of seeing an energy where like you communicating or talking to people like may even be part of your job, and it may feel very different than how you identify like when you're on your own time even. Because it feels like there are these two different versions of yourself and you're trying to get them to work together right now, which it's going to all be able to work together, but there's a sense of needing to be patient with yourself through the process of like getting everything to gel, because it may be also you discovering like these new parts of yourself, and you're trying to like understand like which part is most you, and then maybe understanding that all of it is you, and trying to like make and create room for you to be all of these different aspects of yourself and not neglect any parts. It looks like too, like with the feminine and the masculine energy, with I'm looking at the Empress, the Emperor, Temperance, and the King of Swords. It's like trying to get, like the feminine aspect of you, which is like the creativity and the originality and like the chaos and like the fantasy and all of these things, and the receptive energy, like receiving. And then the masculine is like how you take action based off of that, how you organize that, and how you get that to play together, I'm hearing. And then like mixing it all up in the way that Temperance does. So it's like getting these two to work together, these two energies like within yourself, the masculine and the feminine energy, and getting them to work together. You see the balance? Like the Temperance card is the ultimate alchemist, transmuting the energy, and then it's like bringing that forward. So what do you say? It seems like some sort of like public speaking or public platform, or like some type of communication that you have is very significant, but it may not feel like, you may not be the type of person that feels comfortable like center stage and like talking in front of a bunch of people. And like this can also be like metaphorically speaking too. Like you may not actually literally be getting up in front of a bunch of people. But yeah, you may feel like that's different than what you feel comfortable with. Like that may not be your go-to, and you may be trying to figure out like, I feel like I have this calling and I'm meant to be doing this, but this also like may not feel like part of my character, or I may need to be brave with something and like speak and be heard, and I need to get comfortable with that, or I need to be like confident enough that like I'm gonna commit to this thing. Because, yeah, with the Queen of Pentacles, I'm just seeing this, like, energy where you may feel like you want to protect your energy, or, like, not put yourself out there in some type of way, or, like, not do something, or not bring attention even onto you. Because there's definitely a sense of, like, really liking your, like, alone time, or even that, I don't know, something about, like, even your identity, or, like, maybe a lot of people about attention not being put on you, something like that. Like when you're in your alone time. Like definitely value that, like feeling like that's a sacred space, and like not wanting people intruding or impeding upon that. And then there's that other part of you that's like, we have to talk about this, we have to bring this out. This has to be known, I'm also hearing. I'm looking at Pluto, the moon, Cancer, Uranus, Mars, Leo, Venus, Aries, Sagittarius. That ending that you went through was part of the challenge of you, like, literally, it's like breaking into yourself is what I'm hearing. The significant thing about it is that it's almost like making a decision that you don't think is going to have the weight or gravity that it does, and then you do it, and it's like it has an effect where you even discover something that you didn't even know was like under there, behind that, or inside of there. Or like you didn't even know you could do something, or like some type of like power or skill, something manifests. I'm looking at the moon. All of the mysteries of the universe. This can even like be a very, very subconscious energy that you're tapping into as well. Like for some of you specifically, I'm getting that you can channel, and you may be learning more about how to do that. It's like how to get connected with spirit and your higher self. You may also be getting into tarot or something like that, energy work even, dream work. I am looking at the channeling card here. Like downloading messages from spirit, especially stuff that is hidden, things that you have to dig for, things that you have to tune in for, and bringing them to light. It definitely feels like there's a sense of like maybe even feeling like you're a sort of messenger. Maybe you also identify as a light worker, even a spiritualist for some. This feels very magical, Pisces. It feels even like being in some type of secret school where you're learning a curriculum that's like not taught to the public, but it's being taught to you because of what you're capable of and what you can do with that. Tapping into like secret knowledge, esoteric knowledge. I'm seeing this also, like whatever this is that you're doing, talking to your spirit guides, I'm seeing this as something that like delivers you a sense of peace. Yeah, it looks like you're figuring out something about your craft. I'm feeling an activation on the back of the head. Yeah, some skill. I'm also hearing training, something that you're learning how to do. This is also about reminding yourself as well that, like, if you find out that you're able to do something, like, if you don't want to do that, you also always have the option not to, too. So you're never, like, forced to tap into things that you don't want to tap into, or, like, if you, again, recognize that you have, like, certain abilities, if you find them disconcerting and it's something that you don't want to, like, continue elaborating upon, you don't have to. Because sometimes it can feel very ungrounding to like recognize or learn that you have access to certain things. And yeah, if you're not ready for it, you don't have to do anything that like you don't want to do also. So always remind yourself of that as well. I'm looking at you, Pisces, and I'm looking at Taurus here next to you. Yeah, it looks really like you're able to tap into something. This can even be the collective unconscious. Like maybe you're channeling something from there. I'm seeing grounding be very important, because at times you may feel like you're kind of floating all over the place, or like tuning into different channels, or this feels very specific. It's about kind of directing the energy, and like also understanding too that if things get overburdening, like recognizing or even learning about how to protect your own energy, what works for you, what grounds your energy, and what keeps you in a place where you feel like you can find peace if you need to reach out for that, or you find grounding. And like looking within, because it looks too like you're meant to be looking at these things that may feel like scary or intimidating at first, until you learn how to work with it, work with the energy, and then it's not going to feel the way that it did like before you understood what you were doing. It's like that sense of like learning how to ride a bike, or learning how to drive a car, or like do a skill that you're unfamiliar with. Like in the beginning you don't really know what you're doing, and there's a sense of feeling like scared of it because you don't want to mess up, or you don't know what's going to happen, or yeah, just the unknown factor, being in a place that feels very unfamiliar. However, there's a sense of like mastery here the more you analyze this and look into it, and you'll know what to do with it. So again, I'm looking at Pisces, Taurus, and then Virgo came to join. All right, my friends, we're going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everybody for joining. Thank you for tuning in. I'm wishing everybody love and light and healing, and I hope to catch you guys next time.